The unexpected encounter when worlds collide. Lieutenant Jake Morrison never expected his routine patrol mission to end with him bleeding. In the dirt of Kepler 442b, the plasma burns across his chest sent waves of agony through his body as he pressed his back against the crystalline rock formation. His squad was gone, scattered by the Zephyrian ambush that had torn through their reconnaissance team like a hurricane through wheat. The alien war cries echoed across the purple landscape, their voices creating an otherworldly symphony that made his skin crawl. Jake checked his rifle's power cell and cursed under his breath. 3 shots left, maybe 4 if he was lucky, against 12 heavily armed Zephyrian warriors. It might as well have been a pointed stick. The first time he saw her, Jake thought his injuries were making him hallucinate. She moved like liquid shadow across the battlefield, her sleek form cutting through the chaos with impossible grace. The Zephyrians turned their weapons toward this new threat, but she was already among them, her twin energy blades singing through the air with deadly precision. Jake watched in stunned silence as she dismantled his attackers with an efficiency that bordered on artistic. Each movement flowed into the next, a dance of death performed by someone who had clearly perfected this particular art form. When the last Zephyrian fell, the sudden silence felt deafening. She turned toward him, and Jake got his first clear look at his mysterious savior. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, her skin a deep blue-green that reminded him of Earth's deepest oceans. Intricate silver markings traced elegant patterns along her arms and neck, pulsing with a soft bioluminescent glow. Her eyes were the most striking feature, large and expressive, colored like liquid amber, with flecks of gold that seemed to dance in the alien sunlight. Her armor was unlike anything in the human military database, form-fitting and organic-looking, as if it had grown rather than been manufactured. It shifted color subtly as she moved, adapting to the environment around her. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who had never met a problem she couldn't solve with violence. "You fight bravely for someone so small," she said, her voice carrying an accent that turned English into something resembling music. The translator implant in Jake's ear worked overtime to process her words, but somehow the meaning came through clearly. Jake tried to stand and immediately regretted the yan. Decision as pain lanced through his wounded chest. "Small?" he managed to gasp out. "I'm 6'2". Something that might have been amusement flickered across her alien features. "As I said, small." She approached him with careful steps, her weapons powering down but remaining ready. "You are injured." "I've had worse," Jake lied, though he wasn't sure who he was trying to convince. The blood seeping through his combat vest suggested otherwise. She knelt beside him with fluid grace, her large hands surprisingly gentle as she examined his wounds. Her touch sent an unexpected warmth through his body, and Jake found himself studying her face up close. There was something hauntingly beautiful about her alien features, something that made his heart race for reasons that had nothing to do with his injuries. "Your species heals poorly," she observed, her amber eyes meeting his. "These wounds would kill you without treatment." "Are you offering?" Jake asked, surprised by his own boldness. She studied him for a long moment, her head tilted slightly in. What he was beginning to recognize as curiosity, perhaps. "But first, tell me, human, why did you not flee when your companions abandoned you?" "They didn't abandon me," Jake said firmly. "They followed orders. Someone had to stay behind to ensure the mission data got through." Her expression changed subtly, and Jake caught a glimpse of something that looked like respect in those golden eyes. Trust in strange places. The medical bay aboard Kira's ship was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The walls pulsed with the same bioluminescent patterns that marked her skin, and the air hummed with technology that seemed more grown than built. He lay on what appeared to be a living bed, the surface warm and yielding beneath him. automatically adjusting to support his injured body. "Your name," she said, as she worked over him with instruments that looked more like extensions of her own hands than separate tools. "I am Vex Thara of the Night Hunters, though you may call me Vex." "Jake," he replied, watching as she applied some kind of gel to his wounds. The pain began to recede almost immediately, replaced by a tingling sensation that felt like healing itself. "And thank you for saving me back there." "Do not thank me yet," Vex said, her amber eyes focusing intently on her work. "The healing process for your species is ... unpleasant. Your body will fight the treatment as much as it fights the injury." She wasn't kidding. Over the next several hours, Jake experienced fever dreams that blurred the line between reality and hallucination. Through it all, Vex remained by his side, her cool hands providing comfort when the pain became too much to bear. She told him stories of her homeworld, Tisara, where the night sky burned with 3 different colored suns, and the forests sang with the voices of creatures that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. "Why did you help me?" Jake asked during one of his lucid moments. "Your people and mine were not exactly allies." Vex paused in her ministrations, her expression thoughtful. "The Night Hunters do not choose sides in galactic politics. We hunt those who deserve hunting, protect those who deserve protection. You stayed behind to ensure your mission succeeded, knowing it would likely mean your death. That speaks to honor." "And honor matters to you?" "Honor is what separates warriors from butchers," she replied simply. "Your people are young, violent, unpredictable. Most of my kind see you as barely evolved primates, playing with weapons too dangerous for your understanding. But watching you fight today, seeing you choose duty over survival, you showed me something different." Jake found himself studying her profile as she worked. The silver markings on her skin seemed to pulse in rhythm with some internal process, and he realized they weren't just decorative. They were part of her physiology, connected to her emotional state in ways he was only beginning to understand. "What do you see when you look at me?" he asked, the question slipping out before he could stop himself. Vex's hands stilled as she met his gaze directly. "I see potential," she said finally. "Your species has something most others lack. You refuse to accept limitations. When faced with impossible odds, you do not calculate survival probabilities. You simply fight harder." The ship's systems chimed softly, and Vex's expression grew serious as she listened to something Jake couldn't hear. "We have company," she announced. 3 Zephyrian cruisers, closing fast. Jake tried to sit up, ignoring the protest from his still healing wounds. "They're tracking me. The mission data I'm carrying, it's more important than they told me." "What kind of data?" "Zephyrian fleet movements, tactical assessments, something about a new weapon they're developing." Jake met her eyes. "They'll kill both of us to get it." "Back." Vex's expression shifted, the silver markings on her skin beginning to pulse more rapidly. "Then we ensure they do not succeed." She moved to the ship's controls with liquid grace, her hands dancing over interfaces that responded to her. "Touch like living things." "You don't understand," Jake said. "There are 3 of them. Your ship is fast, but my ship is not just fast," Vex interrupted, a predatory smile crossing her features. "She is clever. And hungry." Through the viewports, Jake watched as the Zephyrian cruisers closed in, their weapons charging for what should have been an easy kill. Instead, Vex's ship seemed to fold in on itself, its hull shifting and adapting in ways that defied conventional physics. "Hold on," Vex said, her amber eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Let me show you why they call us Night Hunters." Bonds forged in battle, the first Zephyrian cruiser opened fire with everything it had, plasma bolts and quantum torpedoes filling the space where Vex's ship had been moments before. But the Night Wind, as Jake learned was her vessel's name, danced between the attacks with impossible grace. The ship moved like a living creature, its hull rippling and shifting to deflect incoming fire. How is this possible? Jake breathed, watching as they twisted through a barrage that should have vaporized them. Tisserine biotechnology, Vex explained, her hands moving across controls that seemed to respond to her thoughts as much as her touch. The ship and I are bonded. She feels what I feel, moves as I move. Jake watched in fascination as the silver markings on Vex's skin began to glow brighter, pulsing in perfect synchronization with similar patterns that appeared along the ship's interior walls. She wasn't just piloting the vessel. She was becoming one with it. The night wind suddenly spun around one of the Zephyrian cruisers, staying in its blind spot while unleashing a concentrated burst of energy that punched through the enemy's shields. The alien ship began to list, its engines failing as secondary explosions rippled along its hull. "One down," Vex said, her voice carrying a note of satisfaction. 2 to go. But the remaining Zephyrian ships had learned from their companions' fate. They spread out, forcing Vex to choose between targets while they coordinated their attacks. Jake watched the tactical display with growing concern as the enemy vessels began to box them in. "There," he said, pointing to a gap in their formation. "If we can get through that opening, we can use the asteroid field for cover." Vex glanced at him, surprise flickering across her features. "You understand space combat?" "I understand hunters," Jake replied. "They're trying to force us into their killing ground, but predators have blind spots too." Something changed in Vex's expression as she looked at him. The amber eyes that had been focused on battle strategy now held something warmer, more personal. "Show me," she said. Together, they began to work the controls. Jake's tactical knowledge combining with Vex's intuitive understanding of her ship's capabilities. The night wind responded to their joint efforts, moving with even greater precision. As they slipped through the Zephyrian formation, the asteroid field provided the cover they needed, but also new dangers. The space rocks were large enough to hide behind, but dense enough to make navigation treacherous. Vex guided them through the maze with the skill of someone who had done this many times before, while Jake analyzed the enemy movements on the tactical display. "They're splitting up," he observed, "trying to flush us out from different angles." "Then we give them what they expect," Vex said, a predatory smile crossing her features. "Hold on." The night wind suddenly burst from cover, appearing to flee deeper into the asteroid field. The Zephyrian ships took the bait, converging on their position from different vectors. But instead of running, Vex executed a maneuver that Jake had never seen before. The ship seemed to fold space around itself, appearing behind the nearest enemy vessel before they could react. "Impossible," Jake whispered as they unleashed point-blank fire into the Zephyrian cruiser's engines. "Possible," Vex corrected, "if you understand how to dance with the universe instead of fighting it." The crippled cruiser spun away, its crew sending distress signals that would never be answered in time. But the third Zephyrian vessel had used the distraction to close the distance, its weapons charging for a devastating close-range attack. "Behind us!" Jake shouted, but Vex was already moving. The night wind twisted impossible, its hull rippling. As defensive systems, Jake didn't understand absorbed the brunt of the enemy's assault. But the ship shuddered under the impact, and he could see stress patterns appearing in the organic walls around them. "She's hurt," Vex said, her own body trembling as she shared the ship's pain. "One more hit like that, and we're finished." Jake looked at the tactical display, his mind racing through possibilities. The Zephyrian ship was faster than they were now, and its weapons had longer range. In a straight fight, they would lose, but sometimes the best strategy wasn't to fight at all. "Can you make the ship look dead?" he asked suddenly. Vex stared at him. "What?" "Play dead. Make them think they've won." when they close in to confirm. The kill. Understanding dawned in her amber eyes, followed by something that looked like admiration. Your people truly are insane, she said, but there was warmth in her voice. I am beginning to see why the galaxy fears you. When walls come down, the night wind drifted silently through the asteroid field, all of its systems powered down to minimal levels. To the Zephyrian sensors, they appeared to be nothing more than debris from the battle, another casualty of superior firepower. Jake held his breath as the enemy cruiser approached, its weapons still charged, but no longer actively targeting them. Vex lay beside him in the darkened command center, her breathing shallow as she maintained the ship's deception. The silver markings on her skin had dimmed to barely visible traces, and Jake could see the strain the effort was costing her. The bond between her and the night wind went both ways. When the ship played dead, she had to partially die as well. How long can you hold this? He whispered. Long enough, she replied, though her voice was barely audible. The Zephyrian cruiser drew closer, its scanning beams playing across the Nightwind's hull. Jake watched the tactical display with growing tension as the enemy ship moved into position. For the killing blow they thought they were delivering to an already dead vessel. Now, Vex breathed. The Nightwind exploded back to life, its systems surging from dormancy to full power in seconds. Vex screamed as the ship's awakening tore through her nervous system, but she held on, pouring everything she had into one final attack. The concentrated energy burst struck the Zephyrian cruiser at point-blank range, punching through its shields and hull like they were made of paper. The enemy ship died in a brilliant flash of expanding plasma and debris. In the sudden silence that followed, Jake realized he was holding Vex against him, her body trembling from the effort of what she had just accomplished. It's over, he said softly, his hand stroking her midnight blue hair. We did it. Vex pulled back to look at him, her amber eyes bright with pain and exhaustion, and something else he was afraid to name. We? She asked. You saved my life twice now, Jake said. I think that makes us a team. Something shifted in her expression, the predatory mask she wore in battle, falling away to reveal something more vulnerable underneath. Your people and mine, we are not supposed to form teams. The night hunters walk alone. Maybe it's time for that to change. She studied his face for a long moment, as if trying to read something written there in a language she didn't quite understand. You are not like the others of your species I have encountered, she said finally. How so? The others, they see me as a tool to be used, or a threat to be eliminated. You see me as ... She paused, searching for the right words in a language that wasn't her own. As a person, Jake felt his heart skip a beat at the simple honesty in her voice. You are a person, a remarkable one. The night wind drifted toward the edge of the asteroid field, its systems automatically plotting a course for the nearest human outpost. But Jake found himself reluctant to end this journey, to return to a world where the woman beside him would be seen as an enemy rather than a partner. What happens now? He asked. Vex was quiet for a long moment, her hands moving across the ship's controls with unconscious grace. You return to your people with your mission data. I return to mine with the knowledge that not all humans are the savage primitives we believe them to be. And that's it? We just go back to being enemies? We were never enemies, Vex said softly. We simply never knew we could be anything else. Jake reached out, his fingers gently tracing one of the silver markings on her arm. The pattern pulsed brighter at his touch, and he heard her sharp intake of breath. What if we could be something else? Jake ... His name on her lips sounded like a prayer and a warning all at once. I know it's complicated, he said. I know there are rules, regulations, politics. But what if none of that mattered? What if the only thing that mattered was this? He gestured between them at the space. where two different species had found common ground in the vastness of space, where a human soldier and a night hunter had discovered that some bonds transcended the boundaries of genetics and culture. Vex's amber eyes searched his face, and Jake saw a war being fought behind them. Duty against desire, tradition against possibility, the weight of millennia of separation between their peoples against something new and fragile and beautiful. The nearest human outpost is 3 days away, she said finally. 3 days, Jake repeated, understanding flooding through him. 3 days to decide if we are brave enough to rewrite the rules of the galaxy, Vex whispered and leaned forward to close the distance between them. Love across the void. The kiss was everything Jake had imagined and nothing like he expected. Vex's lips were softer than they appeared, and she tasted of starlight and possibilities. The silver markings on her skin blazed brighter as their mouths met, and he felt an electric tingle where their skin touched. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. The markings, Jake said, his fingers tracing the glowing patterns on her neck. They respond to emotion? Among other things. Vex replied, her voice husky. They are part of our neural network, connected to everything we feel. Right now, they are responding to... She paused, as if the words were difficult to say. To what? To you. To how you make me feel. She turned away, suddenly shy despite her warrior's bearing. My people do not form attachments easily. We are taught that emotion is weakness, that caring for others makes us vulnerable. Jake gently turned her face back toward him. And what do you think? I think, Vex said slowly, that whoever taught us that never experienced what I am feeling right now. Over the next 3 days, as the night wind carried them toward human space, Jake and Vex shared stories of their lives, their dreams, their fears. He told her about Earth, about blue skies and ocean waves, about a world where different species of birds could share the same sky without declaring war on each other. She told him about Tassara, about the singing forests and the aurora that danced between the 3 suns, about a culture that prized individual strength above all else. Loneliness, Jake said on the second night as they lay together in the soft glow of the ship's bioluminescent walls. That's what your people really prize. Not strength, loneliness. Vex was quiet for a moment, her head resting on his chest. Perhaps, she said finally, but loneliness keeps us safe. Attachments can be used against us. They can also save us. Jake replied, thinking of how they had worked together to defeat the Zephyrian ships. When we fought those cruisers, we were stronger together than we would have been apart. This is different, Vex said, but her voice lacked conviction. Is it? Or is it just love on a smaller scale? She lifted her head to look at him, and in her amber eyes he saw the reflection of everything they could be together. Love, she repeated, the word as if testing its weight. Your people use that word for many things. How do I know which meaning you intend? Jake smiled, his hand stroking through her midnight hair. All of them, he said simply. On the 3rd day, the human outpost appeared on their sensors, a small research station clinging to the edge of civilized space. Jake felt his heart sink as reality reasserted itself. Soon, he would have to explain to his superiors how he had survived, how he had obtained the intelligence data they needed. Soon, Vex would have to return to her people and explain why she had helped a human. I could come with you, she said suddenly, as if reading his thoughts. Jake stared at her. To the outpost? Vex, they'll arrest you the moment you step aboard. To them, you're an enemy combatant. And to your people? What would I be to them? I don't know, Jake admitted. But I know what you are to me. Vex was quiet for a long moment. My ship can cloak itself, remain hidden near the outpost. After you deliver your report, after you've completed your duty to your people ... you'd wait for me? I would wait for you, she confirmed. But Jake, you must understand. If you come with me, if you choose this path, there is no going back. The Night Hunters do not forgive those who abandon their posts, and your people will consider you a deserter. Jake looked out at the stars visible through the night wind's organic viewports. Somewhere out there was Earth, the world of his birth, the place where his family and friends believed he would eventually return. Somewhere else was Tisara, a world he had never seen but could picture clearly from Vex's descriptions. "What are you thinking?" Vex asked. "I'm thinking," Jake said slowly, "that home isn't a place, it's a person. And I've found mine." The silver markings on Vex's skin pulsed brighter, and she smiled with a joy that transformed her alien features into something breathtakingly beautiful. "Then we face the unknown together?" "Together," Jake confirmed, and sealed the promise with a kiss that tasted like starlight and forever dot as the night wind approached the human outpost, its cloaking field shimmering around them like a protective embrace. Jake Morrison made his choice. He would deliver the intelligence data, complete his final mission for humanity, and then step into a future that no one had ever imagined possible. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers, ancient secrets and new possibilities. And somewhere out there, beyond the reach of politics and prejudice, a human and a night hunter would write a new chapter in the story of what it meant to love across the stars. After all, the best love stories had always been about two people from different worlds finding their way to each other. This one just happened to be literal. The end.